Yes, ma'am.
We are going to move on to the Housing Authority of Travis County. Meeting October 7th. The time is 11:49. We have roll call.
Chair Robbie Meyer.
Here.
Vice Chair John Hernandez. Here. Commissioner Ann Denton.
Here.
Commissioner Eddie Kieran. Here. Commissioner Wilmer Roberts. Here.
Okay. Any public citizen communications?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we'll move on to the regular agenda. Discussion update status of strategic planning process.
Okay, as you all know, in the budget that you approved the amended or interim budget, I guess I should say, there was some funds for strategic planning. The strategic plan, as you know, was adopted last month as far as the end of last year, and the intent was to engage in another strategic planning process. This plan will cover, the intent is for the plan to cover 2022 to 25, which would be year 50 of the agency's existence. Yay. So we are, we have enlisted the help of Robin Loving to assist us with this, and as you know, we all engaged her. I have Steve taking the lead internally with the further development of the plan. Staff has been engaged in the process as well as you all. And I'm going to have Steve just run through where we are to date. Robin is also on the line. I think she's going to start with Robin's comments. Hopefully she's still around to talk. So with that, I'm going to turn it over.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? I can't see hands or anything, but I'm going to assume you're good unless I see a chat saying otherwise. It's really a pleasure to be back with you. We have been very, very busy on the editing end of your work, and it's going very well. What we'd like to do today is show you our progress and where we're going to go. So next slide, please. Thank you. I think we need to go back to the next slide. Back to the future. Thank you so much. Okay, so up until this point, we began with stakeholder research. We didn't want to leave any stone unturned. We found lots of internal and external stakeholders, and we did our darndest to reach out to every one of them. We did that through a variety of ways that will be discussed on the third bullet point here. The second thing is that we developed a situational analysis, and that means we looked at what's going on with you, what's going on in the industry as far as best practices, etc. So that work has been done and is continuing to be added to as we discover more information as we go along. The third step was stakeholder engagement. That's where I got the privilege of meeting you folks, most of you. And we did this through interviews, through focus groups, and through surveys. They were very enlightening, and we took down every single word that we could from every survey, from every interview. You saw me do this live with you. And so that is the substance of the plan at this point. It's been distilled into an organization, but your words, your thoughts, your ideas are there and nothing more. It's pretty impressive that you've got the big scope. The last part so far is the initial plan development, and we're going to show you what that framework is looking like. We've actually mocked up the beginnings of, I don't know, 20 to 25 pages of this. And we will show you the high points today as we continue to refine it and choose the best ways to present it. Next slide, please. Okay, one of the things we asked you in a variety of ways was, what is it that you believe are your values within HATC? All of these specific words came up and got combined into this list. It's an impressive list. I'm going to read the list so that everybody can hear it as well as read it. Collaboration and coordination is a value. Ethical leadership. Highest accountability. Operational transparency. Organizational excellence. Personal responsibility. Professional service. and respectful relationships. So each of those things will be worked on to make sure we meet those goals. You will see a lot of these worked on with Steve, our new VP, who is working in the HR space and knows his stuff. So you will see a lot of initiative when you see the plan from Steve's perspective on these values. Next slide, please. Okay, our pledge and our commitment. We are a service organization, and we have pledged our service to the public just by being part of this team. So what has been distilled out of your service commitments as we've listened over the last several months is this: HATC's board members and staff pledge to be attentive, dedicated, helpful, knowledgeable, resourceful, and responsive to all we serve. So when the days get long, we can always look back at this and say, how can I redouble my efforts? Where is my heart in this service? And probably find one of these things that will egg us on to do our work in a superlative manner. The next thing we have is our commitment to ethical and respectful relations. You have seen this sort of thing called a DEI, a diversity, equity, inclusion statement. You've seen this sort of thing as a non-discrimination statement along the way. But this, again, is a fresh look at what our commitment is so that we can maintain our ethicality and be respectful in all relations. I shall read it. HATC's board and staff are committed to ethical, respectful, and non-discriminatory relationships and practices that emphasize the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is our belief that the rich and varied experiences and worldviews which can be accessed via diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts will provide the potential for more creative organizational solutions, promote a culture of recognition, respect, and appreciation, and drive collaboration and innovation within the organization. All employment and residential placement decisions will be made by HATC without regard to race, color, sex, including pregnancy, gender identity and sexual orientation, religion, national origin, age, disability, genetic information, familial status, veteran status, or any other status protected by applicable federal or local laws. So next slide, please. Out of your work, we have distilled a vision and a mission. As you might remember, the vision is the ideal state. It's where we want to be in 2025. The mission is how we get there. So the vision is HATC is a leading model community development asset that provides affordable housing and inspires resident empowerment to enable low, extremely low, and mixed income families to become self-sufficient. So that's what we want to see by 2025. In the meantime, our mission to get there is HATC staff and resident leaders create and preserve a model sustainable system of affordable housing and resident empowerment services for those most in need. Next slide, please. So at this point, I will turn it over to Steve. If you have any questions, please put them into chat. Questions, comments, confusion, anything you have, please put it into chat and I will make sure that we address it along the way. Take it over, Steve.
Thank you, Robin. Appreciate that. So at this point, I will kind of drill down to the next level here and discuss the structure of the plan that we're putting together. There's different layers here. The big picture layer is the strategic priorities, and you'll see that flows down to what we call focus areas, goals, which are going to be measured by metrics, We've all heard that term a lot lately. And then finally, implementation strategies and tactics. You'll see the arrow goes both ways there, and I will explain that more in just a moment. So next slide. So top level here, the strategic priorities. We, after a lot of work, have distilled this down basically to 4 very big areas: affordable housing, resident experience, resource development, and organizational development. Next slide. So the strategic priorities lead, as you recall from the slide earlier, into lower level focus areas. So what we've done here is for each particular strategic priority, we have identified areas that we want to focus on in each of those priorities. So with the strategic priority of affordable housing, we have preservation of units, addition of units, and expansion of housing choice. For the resident experience, we have wellness and quality of life, access to programs, and resident agency and self-sufficiency. Next slide. For resource development, we have pursuit of grant funding, leveraging technology and community partnerships. And then finally, for organizational development, we have organizational best practices, and that's between and among all the functional areas: HR, finance, operations, programs, et cetera. Staff recruiting, training, performance, engagement, and retention, and then compliance. And that could be in any of those areas: finance, HR, operations, programs, et cetera. Next slide. So drilling down a little more, this is just an example of one particular focus area with the goals and the metrics that are going to be used to measure this. Part of this is a work in progress. And we are in really good shape because we have our framework, and we're sort of filling in some details here in the next very near future. So as an example, affordable housing, preservation of units, we have a goal here of maintaining HATC's existing housing portfolio to higher standards, measured by, and in red here, you see a metric that we're going to use to measure this. Again, this is going to be refined even more as we go forward. In this particular case, measured by resident satisfaction surveys and REACT inspection scores. Addition of units, maximizing tax credit partnerships, and working with Travis County Commissioners Court to create dedicated affordable housing funding source, measured by achieving inventory of 10,000 units by 2025. And then expansion of housing choice, as an example, utilizing move to work designation to improve choice voucher operational efficiencies, measured by yet to be determined. So this is a dynamic process, and we feel really good about where we are on this, but just wanted to throw that up there as an example. Next slide. So when we have our goals, we've identified goals, and we have metrics that show us when we've achieved a goal. Then we have are working on what we call our implementation strategies and tactics. These are going to be developed in order to accomplish that said goal. And of course, we're going to know we accomplished the goal because we've achieved our metrics. So in order to achieve goals per those defined metrics, we are going to continue to refine these strategies and tactics as we move through this 22 to 25 strategic implementation period. So that's going to follow the development plan. Next steps, as I mentioned, refinement of goals, refinement, continued determination of what those metrics are, determination of appropriate implementation strategies and tactics. And by the way, Robin is going to come back in the next couple of weeks and also once again meet with some groups of employees to figure this out and to get buy-in from everybody on what those strategies and tactics are going to be. It's just the kind of the next lowest level down on this process. Then we're going to be researching and compiling ancillary plan data, which is going to allow us to finish this up and publish the final plan. So we feel real good about where we are on this. Next slide. And that's all we have on this, but as Robin said, we're happy to answer any questions. And a lot of this obviously is kind of just an example, a quick snapshot for you, but it's really coming together. I don't know if Patrick has any input on this as well. He's been involved.
Yeah. So no, I'd like to just add that we obviously want. I think the feedback and criticism from the previous strategic plan is that they didn't drill down into the staff in terms of the input and receive as it's developed. So we want to ensure that we have that buy-in, and so we're going to create multiple opportunities for them to continue to give you feedback. In fact, next Friday we're going to have we have our in-service training. We're going to go through sort of an exercise on how you look at a goal and the difference between a goal, a strategy, a tactic, and how you really develop that, with the idea of it being a precursor to the staff meeting with Robin again and talk about these tactics and really get folks' feedback on that, because we really want there to be a collective buy-in input of all the staff who are going to be responsible for ensuring that the plan gets implemented and that they all understand that they all have a role in it. So we're gonna do that, go through that sort of exercise, and continually get the feedback and continue to refine it so that folks can have that ownership and feel good about us moving forward. And the plan is that on December 3rd, it's still planned that we will have this ready for adoption by the 3rd.
We don't have a motion.
No, this is just an update.
Okay. We move on to item 4.
Robin. Item 4, we'll start with the voucher programs with Christina.
Hi, everybody. So Miss Victoria Perez is going to go ahead and give you guys an update of what's been going on the voucher program. Go ahead, Victoria.
Hey everybody, it's Victoria here. So we leased 640 vouchers out of the 632 in August. That resulted in 101% occupancy rate. And this was due to us absorbing 30 portability vouchers in August and 30 in October. Currently 33 voucher holders are currently searching. They are experiencing some difficulty finding housing. Therefore, we're extending the vouchers to allow more time for them to be able to find suitable housing. VASH is leased up. All 30 of them are currently leased. We issued our first EHV voucher, and we're anticipating more in a week. That voucher holder is currently searching for a unit. The COC grant ending 6/30/21 has officially closed out with our final submission of the annual performance report in September. And we submitted our local application for continued COC funding to ECHO to hear about our status in the competitive process in November. And we've submitted our HUD application for COC continued funding. And we're continuing to work on the implementation of the Moving to Work initiative.
Any questions for Victoria or I?
Good job.
Thank
Okay, thank you all. We'll move on to affordable housing.
I'll address by exception.
Yeah, I'm sorry, keep this. Affordable housing.
Ready to go.
Hi, good afternoon. Carlos, are you on? Oh, we can't
yeah,
hear
I'm
you.
on. Can you hear me?
Yes. Carlos is going to start the report.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So our current overall occupancy, we're sitting at 56.56%, sorry. Currently, we do have 16 market renters. And then as far as zero income renters, currently we're sitting at 20. Also, currently, excuse me, sorry. We have 6 vacant units at Red Oaks. We have 11 vacant units at Eastern Oaks, and we have 3 vacant units at Maynardtown Apartments. Gabrielle?
Okay, so continuing with the report, we currently have 2 repayment agreements. We just added one this month for a tenant. Our vacancy rate is 1 at Carson Creek, 1 at Maynardtown Apartments. We have 5 at Rad Apartments and 17 at Sea Oaks Apartments. We're currently working through the waiting list to fill those vacancies, primarily focusing on Eastern Oaks. So we will have some of those vacancies filled by next month. We're working on getting those move-in dates. That sums up our report. Are there any questions?
So, yeah, this is Ann. The Eastern Oaks units are completely finished then, and you're just focusing on filling them. Is that the case?
Yes. We're working off of the waiting list and we're filling those vacancies.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gabby, how many did we have moved back to Eastern Oaks from original?
There are 19 tenants that moved back to Eastern. Some of those tenants were temporarily relocated at other apartments, and the other ones came from Alexander and Summit. So some of those vacancies that are at Alexander and Summit came from those residents that were temporarily occupying those units from Eastern Oaks.
And we had to relocate a couple to our sites because of some of the inability to qualify for the units.
Yes.
As in background checks. So,
we lost several from the Eastern thing. I mean, the permanent displacement, or did they just decide they wanted to go someplace else? Just because it was just too long of a.
No, we had a high vacancy rate at Eastern, and then at some point we started relocating folks fairly early on, if you remember January 2 years ago. So we weren't filling those vacant units, and then a couple actually decided not to move back to Eastern.
Right.
So that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
But that was their choice.
That is correct.
What are we doing? They're coming, we're bringing.
Yes, we did a big push to get vacancies, to get a list. We have more than enough on the waiting list to fill those vacancies. We're just in the process of doing that now. The units are in pretty good shape, and we have the ability to move forward with taking care, putting them in. So I suspect by the end of October we should have all those. We should have those.
What else are we doing to maintain and look at those units individually on a regular basis to make sure that we don't have problems that come up in the future?
Well, as you might recall, a lot of what we concerned with Eastern was obviously the other 2 sister properties were rehabbed, and folks would have liked to move to those as opposed to Eastern. That was a lot of what, because to be honest, it's like a family.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what are we doing as an organization, your staff is doing to go out and inspect those units on a regular basis. So we don't have holes punched in the walls and things of that nature.
Sure. Okay. So they're going to be doing housekeeping inspections.
Yes.
Yes. So there are housekeeping inspections that are commencing, and then we look at the structure. We change the structure where we have more on-site presence than we had before. So we have enacted the housekeeping inspections. At some point during COVID, we were relaxing some of those. but that is the intention, is to ensure that we have those regular housekeeping inspections and ensure that things don't get too far out of whack. I mean, I'd have to say that most of what you had seen at Eastern and even the other properties weren't severe damages per se. I think it was really just more, things were more dated as opposed to the units were, you know, in bad condition per se. And then again, the idea that other units similarly were already rehabbed. And then there obviously the issue really, I would say, a lot of it had to do is the perception of security. So when we go out on site, we will soon, with the entirety of the board and others, to be able to see the work that was performed. But there's a significant amount more lighting that's on site, and you look at the landscaping, and just the curb appeal is greatly improved.
I understand all that, but the other point is you have to write, document things as to who, you know, when I go back into that unit, you know, I need to be able to sign something off saying that this is the condition it's in, and I leave, it should be equal to or better.
So I'm just going to chime in. So prior to the residents moving in, what we did was had a move-in inspection that the residents had to complete. So with that, it does ensure that everything is working exactly how it should be. So there's some preventative things that we're doing to make sure that the unit is the way it's supposed to be. And the tenants do understand that if there's any damage, anything that's going on in the unit, that they're responsible for it. In addition to those housekeeping inspections. So we are making sure we're proactive about these units when it comes to keeping them in good condition.
Appreciate that. And, you know, spending $50,000-$60,000, you know, make sure we don't waste it. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other comments? What? Okay.
Okay, keep now.
Okay, as I mentioned before, we have a brief exemption, but with regard to each of those, things I'd like to bring to your attention quickly. We have 3 construction items that are underway of getting completed. One is the engineering for drainage and some additional concrete pouring that is underway. One of the items is the perimeter fence, which was requested by the board, and that is also under construction as well. And the other one is the clubhouse, which we have added a couple of offices to and have modified some framing around the bathrooms. That has all been completed. My understanding is they have passed their electrical inspection, and what they will be doing, if they haven't already started, they will be going back and reinstalling all the sheetrock that has to be done as a result of the changes to the floor plan. And so those things are underway. I talk with Bobby about once or twice a week right now, so I can try and keep an idea on what's happening out there. And I anticipate things should be winding up relatively shortly. I'd say certainly within the next 90 days, if not 90 days, next 30 days, if not sooner.
That's on Eastern, correct?
That's on Eastern, yes. Mayor phase 2, really one item on this. I submitted a draft request for proposals to executive, and my understanding is that that is currently being reviewed. I have not received anything saying that it has been approved and we're ready to go forward, but I know it is in the review process. And ideally, we would like to go out with this sometime this month. We have a list of potential contractors that have expressed interest in the RFP, and we will be sure that a copy of that is sent to them directly. We'll also post in any other areas where we feel that it might be beneficial or we're required to by law. The only thing I'll probably need to do at this point is go back in and adjust the time frame for when we will receive our responses, when we will make a decision, and when we will make a recommendation to the board as to who we feel should be hired to complete this project. This would be the second phase of Maynard. Yeah. And that would be the construction of new units. We have already begun the process of applying for funding. So since we have already begun that process, it's kind of, we need to see at least what kind of bids we're going to come in. I'm sorry, that was a mistake. I thought we were in the construction already. No, sir, we haven't started construction on that development because we don't have sufficient funds to go forward yet.
I had a similar question, if it's okay for me to ask that at this point. One is, actually I have two questions. One is, you just said that we are seeking additional funding. So in addition to the Federal Home Loan Bank funding application that's in process now, has been submitted for consideration, what other funding have we applied for to support this project? That's question one. And question two, how were we so off in our cost estimates that we thought we could do the project and now we're $2.5 million over in terms of cost estimates? Those are my two questions.
Commissioner Denton, and answering your first question, I'm blanking out on the first question. I apologize.
The second question was so horrifying, right? The first question was, you said we have, we're pursuing other funding. And I said, in addition to the Federal Home Loan Bank application that's already been submitted, what other funding are we actively pursuing? Has anything else been submitted? What are your targets for additional funding?
At this point, we have already gone back to our grant consultant to apply for additional HCA fundings since there was such a significant shortfall between our original cost estimate and the independent cost estimate that we received. So that is the first source that we are going back and looking at. And we are in the process of applying to them. And most currently we are coordinating to make sure that the cost estimates that we are providing to them are set up in the format that's required for the TDHCA loan program. And so that's currently what is being done from a funding source. The answer to your second question, the reason we were off by so much on our first estimate is because the market changed completely on us. And we went from a price of anywhere from $10 to $30 maybe on a sheet of rough plywood to a sheet of cabinet grade to a cost of $100 a 4x8 sheet for a rough grade. And we have price increases on almost every component of building that you have out there. At this point, some of those prices are coming down, but at the time we got our independent estimate, it was at the height of that circumstance.
Okay.
And there isn't anything that anyone in the estimating world can do about that. They just have to go with what the market is at the time. So
right.
We are hoping that as a little bit more time passes, that the costs will become a little bit more reasonable. And we are trying to, hopefully plan for that as we get our bids in from our contractors. And that will give us a more real-time estimate of what costs are then.
So to summarize, if I can summarize what I think I've heard, one is that we are, in addition to, for the first question, in addition to the application to the Federal Home Loan Bank, we're also pursuing additional TDHCA funding and adjusting our cost estimate to their categories. That's what I heard. And then the second thing is that the $2.5 million sort of estimate, overestimate, the new estimate is $2.5 million over, attributable to increases in supplies and materials.
That is correct. Increases in materials and labor.
Materials and labor. Okay. All right. I just want to understand. I think, at some point, even though we love this project, And it is the first project that we have put the set aside money for extremely low income units into. We've put, this is our first one. So I love it, but at some point we might need to take a hard look at whether or not it's going to be feasible.
I agree with you, Commissioner, and that's one of the reasons that we're interested in seeing what bids we actually get in from the RFP.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will add to this, it is more difficult to bid smaller jobs right now, just for economies of scale. You know, contractors are, they're trying to get supplies and labor and everything on, you know, smaller deals. It just costs more.
Okay.
They want to go with the bigger deals. You can get labor there better. You can get supplies there better. So it just costs more to do a smaller deal right now, and unfortunately, Maynard is one of those. I'm having the same problem in other
right.
times, having to bid out, and there's a big swing in pricing between a rural development and a bigger urban development.
Right. Yeah, I hate to lose it, and would encourage, everybody. I hear you, Robbie, that the smaller jobs are more difficult. We certainly faced that personally when we had to replace a small house. But I would encourage us to maybe go to non-traditional, to go beyond people that we typically work with and see, maybe there might be qualified and competent builders out there that we're not accustomed to working with. And so I think we should, make sure that the search includes people who might be a little hungrier and not just looking at the, for the big projects. I'm sure, I'm hoping that we're already doing that. But I just want to make sure that that's officially sort of on the record.
Next.
That's it, C-RAD,
Well, there's nothing else to do on C-RAD Oaks, I think. So,
all right. So we will move on to finance.
Yes, this will be on page 25. So what is included is the August financial report. And as requested, the balance sheet for the whole properties is also included in the finance report. And this is the same report that was emailed to the commissioners, I guess, 2 weeks plus ago. And subsequently, we received some questions related to the balance sheet, and I provided responses which was subsequently forwarded to all the commissioners. And on this financials, there's an additional table for the emergency housing voucher. And I also wanted to, since it came up, I also wanted to state that all the COVID funds have been used as of September, so it's fully expended. Since it had to be used by December 31st, we went ahead and used all the COVID funds. So that actually kind of has increased the HCV reserves, because the HCV reserves can carry forward. Other than that, I didn't have anything else. I just want to ask if there's any questions related to the financials.
I don't have any questions.
Foundation. So I don't think Eric's gonna want to. So Eric is not here is because today is day one of the surveys partnership with UT School of Nursing. So I had to go out there to accompany the folks. I think they're at Alexander today, conducting assessments, quality of life assessments with the residents. As you all recall, something similar occurred at Cambridge after the storm. And so UT graciously agreed to do all of the sites, to work with all the residents to do these assessments. I believe we also are taking out the local vaccine unit as well out there. So that's where he is. We are, on that note, Travis County has offered vaccines to Rosemount residents. We're coordinating a date as we speak on a time to go and conduct that with Travis County, Travis County HHS. Coordinating that as well. We have re-engaged the Explorers Club, which is a component of the Boy Scouts. They've been having discussions and they're trying to gather the sufficient number of students. Right now they're doing it remotely, but typically what they do is they go to a different industry month. Expose students to areas that careers that you might not traditionally be exposed to. So it's a pretty neat opportunity for them to do that. So we are working on that. I did have them sign up. We are signed up to be participating in Amplify Austin that allows nonprofits to get funding for grants in addition to we're looking at a couple of grants right now. We'll speak to those specifically, but we are working with, I haven't been in touch with the foundations that are here, and we have been exploring some opportunities. Also, the library has a very robust component with the resource librarians related to grants. So they've been sending some information our way. Our job coach working through the Literacy Coalition, we have a job coach, and she has been in discussions with Tesla. It looks like they're looking for welders at $30 an hour. So we've been trying to make referrals to those individuals that may be interested. So we're just kind of shaking the tree, beating the bushes to see if folks have some interest. Obviously, there's still the resume writing that goes on and other referrals that we're doing. We're finishing up spending the $25,000 that we had for transportation assistance. We spent all but maybe 8,000 of that, or 9,000, I think, that was that fund. So we plan on spending the balance of that here between now and the end of the year and give us an extension. So folks that have legitimate costs can obviously get gas card, HEB gas card, or a transit pass. If it's to and from work, there's extenuating circumstances, or to a training program, that sort of thing. We're trying to re-engage Goodwill to see if we can align with them a little bit better in terms of their programs. They have a good careers program, and figure out a way to get residents more engaged in that process. We've been using different mediums to reach out to them. So I think I've covered most of the things that are included. If everyone here might be telling you a little more. That's essentially what's going on with the foundation.
Item 5, board committee report.
So I actually have one more thing I was going to share. Omar, if you could bring it up now. I sent an email to you. So I just let's move and make the board aware of some things that are going to be upcoming in the next couple of months in terms of items that will be discussed. Ideally, in November, we'll have a draft of the strategic plan for your review consideration. Obviously, with the intention of approving that in December, but by next month, we should have the semblance of a draft, which is by about 78% of the solution. Final plan for December. The payment standards, as you know, get considered every year. We're going to try to do that in November for January 1 start date for the payment standards for the health insurance voucher program. The budget, as you know, is changing to fiscal year, calendar year, fiscal year. So our thought right now is to do, and actually we'll work with you to identify a date, but ideally the week prior to Thanksgiving, the week of the 15th, to have a work session on the budget so that you can see the draft budget with the hope that we could have that budget approved in December on the 3rd. And then my contract is up at the end of the year, so we're working on a draft contract. Steven's assisting in that effort. So the idea was to present something at least 1 or 2 times to the HR committee for some feedback, with the idea of ideally getting that approved or considered at least in December. And then in December, again, I mentioned the strategic plan, approval of the budget. There is for the moving to work, which is the designation we have now for the HCB program. There's a supplement, which is essentially a plan for HCW, how we plan on changing our programs and policies. That needs to get approved for the end of the year. And then I talked about the employment agreement. We will be doing a 6-month evaluation, which is really fine, obviously, ideally in December or that day or sometime in December. And then we do still need to do a PHA annual plan. That plan looks different now since we don't have public housing units. It's a streamlined plan. So essentially a form that gives the public comment period. We're trying to get some clarity on exactly what that should look like. We're a little bit behind on the deadline on the submission of the document because we were unclear about how that was working with the MTW, but we will get some clarity. But the idea would be that it would come before the board at the December meeting. So the other thing I'm sorry I didn't mention is the annual meeting. We probably would likely have a brief discussion on the annual meeting in the format for the annual meeting in December as well. But I just wanted to share those with you since there was a number of things that figure out. Obviously, with the budget, there's the strategic budget that we approved. And that concludes the CEO executive director.
I think that's a really good heads up. I appreciate it. I'm wondering if we should talk about dates for the budget work session now, or I'm afraid if we leave it till the November board meeting, it'll be too close to that week.
So we're suggesting that maybe we identify before the end of the meeting today a date for the budget work session, which we're recommending the week of November 15th, but we didn't identify a date, but I just put it out there. We were thinking
I just suggest we get it on the calendar. The only time I can't do anything that week is the morning of the Thursday, the 18th. Other than that, it looks pretty clear. Maybe you could propose some dates and send them out for board response.
Thursday, the 17th, open right now.
Wednesday the 17th, is that what I heard?
A time that
Let's do that.
okay. Right. You said that the Thursday, the 17th, was it Thursday? You said the 18th.
No, the
you said?
18th is Thursday.
Sorry, 18th.
Right.
You said that.
I can't do Thursday morning, the 18th. Cannot do Thursday morning.
Okay, we will send out a poll.
How much time are you thinking you might have?
An hour. I think we can get it done in an hour.
Right.
Obviously, you'll get it in advance of the meeting, so you can propose questions. We can send it out to everyone.
Okay.
Just take in mind with all the things that we've got going on, with other things, if we can limit the number of meetings at a time, to get this done. Maybe we can do it by committee.
Well, I think with the budget, I mean, to be honest, I mean, you all need to lay eyes on the budget. And if to be honest, if we could get feedback on the budget, and then again, if there are questions, we obviously circulate those to folks, you know what I mean, to everyone, you know, comments that people have, we can, you know, without, it can be anonymous, whatever, send those out. I mean, we might make, the meeting can be very succinct if we can, you know, get as much done.
Just keep that in mind. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
We've been meeting quite a bit lately.
Okay. Can we move on to 5?
Yes,
okay, do we have a real estate update? Real estate committee meeting? Okay, do we have a governance?
No.
HR?
No.
That was fast. New and unfinished business?
Well, we'll set out a poll about the work session.
Okay. I don't think we have executive session today. Do you have a move to adjourn?
Second.
Yes, objections to that? Okay.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
All right. Thank you.